Chapter 16: Ancient China. The Asian continent has a wide variety of landforms that range from deserts to the world's highest mountains. Some of these landforms created natural barriers in China. These landforms influenced where civilizations did and did not develop. They also provided protection from invasions. Let's take a look at some of the landforms that have influenced the development of China for thousands of years. Gobi Desert. The Gobi Desert is Asia's largest desert. It stretches across southern Mongolia and northern China. Much of the Gobi Desert is actually bare rock, exposed by strong winds blowing across the region. Plateau of Tibet. The Tibetan Plateau is the world's highest plateau at about 14,800 feet above sea level. It is also the world's largest plateau. This highland region lies just north of the Himalayan mountains in western China. The plateau varies in height and in the amount of rainfall it receives. Himalayan Mountains. The Himalayan mountain range is the world's highest mountain region. The Himalayas form a natural physical barrier between India and China. 9 of the world's 10 tallest peaks are located in the Himalayas, including Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world. Major bodies of water. Like India, China has 2 major rivers that influenced its history. Very early Chinese settlements developed near both of these rivers. Let's take a look at them and the ocean that surrounds China. Yellow River. The Huanghe River is the second longest river in China. It is also known as the Yellow River due to the muddy yellow silt it carries as it winds through China. This river empties into the northern Yellow Sea. Today, it provides water throughout northern China. Yangtze River. The Yangtze River is the largest and longest river in China and the third longest in the world. Also known as the Changjiang, the Yangtze is extremely important to Chinese life and commerce today. The Yangtze River empties into the East China Sea. Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean is east of China. It is the largest and deepest of the world's 5 oceans. Both the East China Sea and Yellow Sea are part of it. Early settlements. The Yellow River, also called the Huanghe River, travels from the mountains of northern China to the Yellow Sea. As it flows, the river picks up soft yellow soil called less. Less gives the river its distinct yellow color. Frequent rain causes the Yellow River to flood its banks. Flooding deposits less silt across the surrounding plains. Over thousands of years, repeated flooding made the soil in the Yellow River Valley plentiful and rich in nutrients. The first hunter-gatherers began farming in the Yellow River Valley around 5000 BCE. The Yellow River Valley provided a suitable habitat for plants and animals, and the less silt in the river valley was ideal for growing crops. The river provided a source of water for drinking, bathing, and watering crops. It also provided a means of transportation. Northern China's climate provided a cool, dry winter and a warm, rainy summer. These conditions were ideal for planting and harvesting grains. Early farmers grew crops during the summer season and stored surplus grains for the winter months. Favorable geographic characteristics in the Yellow River Valley allowed the settlers to form permanent Chinese settlements. Over time, Chinese settlements near the Yellow River grew into small villages. An abundance of food from agriculture caused populations to grow and Chinese civilization to begin. Since not all people had to farm, trades developed and villages grew into cities. According to historians, Chinese civilization here began around 2000 BCE, when a few villages grew into large cities ruled by kings. Agriculture in China. Like other ancient civilizations, the ancient Chinese developed dams, dikes, and irrigation canals to control flooding. The Chinese also developed bronze tools to better farm the land. Later, Chinese farmers used oxen to pull their plows. Oxen-pulled plows greatly increased the amount of crops that could be grown. Different agricultural products and practices developed and spread in different areas in China. For example, in northern China, millet was an early crop. In hilly parts of China, farmers dug flat levels called terraces into the hills. Terraces look like giant-sized steps on the hillside. Because terraces were flat, they held a thin layer of water in which to plant crops. This agricultural practice is known as terrace farming. Terrace farming allowed the Chinese to plant crops, especially rice, on hills and mountainsides that would otherwise be too steep for farming. Silk was also discovered in ancient China. Chinese silkworms naturally produce fine strands of silk. The ancient Chinese people learned how to harvest the silk and weave it into thread. They made clothes, fabrics, and other decorative cloths from silk. In time, silk became one of China's most valuable products and was traded around the world. 2 Chinese agricultural products. Tea. People in ancient China typically used tea for medicinal purposes. However, legend has it that tea as a drink originated in the 2000s BCE when leaves from a nearby tree fell into an emperor's boiling cup of water, and he enjoyed the taste. By the Tang dynasty, beginning in the 7th century, tea had become an art form, enjoyed by all social classes. Wild rice. Ancient Chinese farmers domesticated wild rice as early as 5000 BCE. This rice was very different from the rice eaten around the world today. However, the Chinese farmed domesticated rice from the earliest times. As time passed, this domesticated wild rice became more and more similar to modern rice. Early Chinese civilization. Ancient China was ruled by all-powerful kings or monarchs. Upon death, Chinese kings passed their ruling power to another family member. The series of kings within one ruling family is called a dynasty. Ancient Chinese history can be divided based on which dynasty held power at the time. Each dynasty or ruling family ruled China until it became weak and was overthrown. The Shang dynasty. The Shang dynasty is the first dynasty historians know much about. The Shang dynasty started in a small region of the Yellow River Valley. The people developed new technologies, such as war chariots and bronze-tipped spears, that gave them an advantage over other neighboring peoples. Around 1766 BCE, a Shang ruler named Tang the Successful conquered more than 1,800 villages in the Yellow River Valley. When Tang died, he passed power to another member of his family, and power continued to be passed down throughout the generations. For more than 500 years, the Shang dynasty ruled ancient China. During its rule, the dynasty's territory spread to areas near the Yangtze River. Characteristics of Shang dynasty. Specialization. Most Shang people lived in farming villages. Farmers grew crops, raised pigs and chickens, and bred and harvested silkworms. Some people were metal workers or artisans. Shang artisans made beautiful marble and jade statues, as well as silk fabrics, ornate metal containers, and much more. Members of the noble class used their power to rule and organize resources. Writing. During the Shang dynasty, the first Chinese writing system was invented. Chinese symbols represented objects and ideas, not syllables like the systems of Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. This was beneficial because it made communication easier between the people in different regions of China who spoke different dialects or variations of Chinese. The symbols represented objects and ideas that everyone could recognize, regardless of what dialect was spoken. Today, people in different regions of China still have difficulty speaking to each other because their dialects are different. However, when they write, they can understand each other because the symbols are the same. There are over 50,000 symbols in the Chinese writing system today. Architecture. Shang buildings were made of wood and mud. Shang villages built large dirt walls around their villages for protection. One Shang city built a wall 6 feet wide and 30 feet high. Most evidence of Shang architecture has long since crumbled and washed away. Social structure. The king's family and nobles held all the wealth and power in Shang society. Common people included farmers, craftspeople, and enslaved people. A world apart. The ancient Chinese were isolated from the rest of the world by China's geography and many natural barriers. Cut off by mountain ranges, deserts, and a vast ocean, Chinese people did not know other ancient civilizations existed in other parts of the world. Because of their unique geographical features and isolation, the Chinese were able to develop a unique cultural identity from the rest of the known world. The ancient Chinese named their land All Under Heaven because they believed China to be the only civilization in the entire world. The Zhou dynasty. The Zhou people settled west of the Shang civilization along a tributary of the Yellow River. Over time, the Zhou villages gained more and more territory and eventually encountered the Shang people. When the Shang dynasty became weak, the Zhou kingdom conquered the Shang, took their land, and established the Zhou dynasty. Ruling from 1122 to 221 BCE, the Zhou dynasty was China's longest-lasting family of rulers. The size of ancient China made governing difficult. A concept known as the Mandate of Heaven helped solve this problem. Beginning in the Zhou dynasty, the king claimed that he was chosen by the gods in a mandate of heaven to rule. The Mandate of Heaven helped the Zhou justify their conquest of the Shang dynasty. It encouraged people to accept the new king as their ruler because obedience to the gods was very important in Chinese culture. The Chinese people saw the king as their link between heaven and earth. This concept benefited kings by encouraging their subjects to accept their right to rule. However, the Mandate of Heaven also had a downside for kings. The Chinese people expected the king to live according to a way that was proper in order to keep the gods happy. A bad harvest or natural disaster could be interpreted as a sign that the king was no longer pleasing the gods, and therefore no longer fit to rule. If someone successfully overthrew the king, the leader of the rebellion then claimed that he now had the Mandate of Heaven to rule. After all, if it was not the Mandate of Heaven that he should be king, the gods would not have allowed him to have defeated the previous leader, right? Under the Zhou dynasty, China became very wealthy. Chinese culture, art, and trade flourished. Thousands of artifacts have been found from the Zhou dynasty, including bronze mirrors, bronze and marble statues, and turquoise and jade jewelry. In the late Zhou dynasty, people discovered how to make iron tools and weapons. They domesticated horses and even introduced coins as the first money. Period of the Warring States. Over time, rulers of local Zhou territories gained power. They stopped obeying the Zhou king. Fighting began and continued for nearly 200 years in what became known as the period of the Warring States. Confucius, a Chinese philosopher. As dynasties overthrew one another, they would replace the existing government and laws. The new king expected people to obey without question. Leaders were often more interested in protecting their claim to rule than in the welfare of the people they ruled. Confucius was an ancient Chinese philosopher and teacher who lived during the Zhou dynasty. He saw how political and cultural problems were tearing China apart. Confucius believed if the Chinese would follow in their ancestors' footsteps, harmony would return to China. He taught principles of morality and respect, as well as guidelines for how a government should rule. Confucius believed that rulers should not get their authority through fear and punishment. Rather, he believed rulers should show their virtue, compassion, and good moral character. Confucius's ideas about society and government are the basis of Confucianism. His teachings emphasize the belief in order and respective hierarchy to counter the issues he saw in China. The basic ideas of Confucianism include: every person has a place in society. Each person must accept their role in society for society to function well. A person must respect and honor their superiors. There are 5 basic types of relationships where respect is owed. A ruler must be respected as long as the ruler is fair and cares for the people. The idea of family or kinship should be applied throughout society. A ruler, like a good father, should take care of his people. People should care for each other as brothers and sisters. Confucius was not well known during his lifetime. However, the ideas of Confucianism were later written down by many of his followers in a collection known as the Analects. As a result of his influence, Confucianism was the official philosophy of China for hundreds of years. These ideas strongly influenced Chinese culture and society in the past, and remain important today. The Qin dynasty. The Qin kingdom began as a small village near the Wei River. The Qin built an army that rode horses into battle and used iron weapons. These advancements gave the Qin an advantage over other Chinese kingdoms. By 221 BCE, the Qin dynasty had conquered the other warring kingdoms in China and even expanded Chinese territory to control several other tribes. In 246 BCE, a young boy, only 13 years old, became ruler of the Qin kingdom. The boy, with the help of his trusted government advisor, Li Si, became a successful king. The Qin had built the first empire in Chinese history and united ancient China. The boy king named himself Qin Shi Huangdi, meaning the first emperor of China. Qin Shi Huangdi needed to enforce his control over a widespread territory in China. His advisors urged him not to believe that honorable men in government could bring peace to society. They said humans are naturally selfish and evil, and the only way to ensure order and loyalty is to implement a system of strict laws and harsh punishments. Shi Huangdi agreed and adopted an idea known as legalism, which gave absolute power to the king. Shi Huangdi made strict laws that ordered harsh punishment of those who disobeyed. Shi Huangdi enforced these laws thoroughly. Consequently, he was a feared emperor and not loved by his people. The Great Wall of China. Invading tribes from lands north of China had been a persistent problem for Chinese dynasties. Many kingdoms had built small walls across their northern borders to protect against these invaders. After taking control of all kingdoms in northern China, Qin Shi Huangdi sought to better protect his empire from northern invaders. He ordered that existing walls be connected to form one great wall. Construction on one of China's most famous architectural achievements, the Great Wall of China, began during the Qin dynasty. Qin Shi Huangdi's Great Wall was built by poor peasants and people who were punished for not obeying the emperor's laws. Construction was dangerous, and many peasants died working on the Great Wall of China.